Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. You know, my awakened joy masters remind me the importance of mindfulness meditation. First of all, even relative to our own thoughts, don't believe everything you think. It's really an act of bravery not to resist negative states of mind, because just watching them will allow them to dissolve. The point is not trying to block any thoughts that arise, which is impossible anyway, but it's not to let them invade your mind, which means not to dwell on them. Stare back at the thought. Try to look at its source. As you investigate it, its apparent solidity will melt away. That's called the spin cycle. Get out of the spin cycle because your mindfulness will interrupt your own tape loop. It'll bring you right back to the moment where you can really respond to what's actually happening. And so rather than chronic worrying, immersing yourself in a low-key way and dread some associated danger while staying with the same rut of thought, what can you be aware of that's actually happening right now in this moment? It's just as simple as pressing clear on your calculator. So spend some time in silence watching your thoughts and see if it doesn't benefit. Now, the gospel of deep relaxation, which is where happiness is the main concern of a human being, that's one of the secret motives of why we endure everything. We hope we'll be happy at the end of it. And of course, for me, the belief is to understand, is spirit there through it all? Refusal to think ill of life no matter what's happening to you. Because if you felt Spirit's presence irrefutably, clear and near, that would be the indispensable proof of its reality. You don't have to prove it to anybody else. And if you tapped into spiritual gladness, or sometimes it's religious gladness without necessarily being connected to organized religion, then you're in possession from the outset of a certain kind of connection. It needs no deliverance from any antecedent burden. There's no, poor me, I'm a sinner, I need to be saved. The Spirit is already alive in you, and it makes you melt, it makes you tender. It's very hard then to give into fretfulness, antipathy, complaint, remonstrance, the negative states. And I always tell people, especially with your words, never speak depreciatingly against anyone. It's hard to systematically expel every contractile element from your own thinking in life. But there's a way of looking at the world where all divine objects have a certain kind of charm for you. And happiness, like every other emotion, has its blind side to protect it. It doesn't want opposing facts to somehow disprove it. But it's protection against disturbance, because there's a lot of things out there which I call the emotional plague on the street. You have to have some boundaries. You don't want that to pass into you. And then, as I was saying yesterday from George Harrison, it's all in your mind. Since people make things good or evil by how they think about it, it's the ruling of your thoughts which ought to be your principal concern. And that's how I've learned to make a deliberate turn, a deliberate adoption of an optimistic turn of mind. Pessimism is weakness. To me, optimism is power. So it's beneath us to pine and mump, which just fastens and perpetuates the problem. I don't show tolerance to ugly states of mind. I experience them, I allow them to pass through me, but I zealously emphasize the brighter aspects and minimize the darker. So I've learned not to indulge in misery, beginning with me, and not stopping until I've brought the entire frame of reality and how I think under a systematic conception that's congenial to my needs and I look at the dignity rather than the depravity of human beings. And I always say, practice yoga, because it's hardly conceivable that such a large body of intelligent people who comprise the people who practice yoga, that it should continue to exist after millennia if it was a total delusion. It's not a thing of the day, it's not confined to a few, it's not local, and it's true that there are many failures, but that only adds to the argument, because many striking successes counterbalance the failures. Otherwise, it would have ended the delusion long ago. So remember, we're all connected to two spheres of thought, one shallower and one more profound, and you can learn to live in either one more habitually, but I hope you find your way to live in the one that's more profound.